Hello.
Hello. It's Michelle.
Hey, it's Linda. I'm just checking. I have two different computers going at the moment. I was just checking the sound to make sure it was okay on this one. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready for things to get to normal.
As in, this is Michelle Veerwall or Michelle who?
Angel.
Oh, the other. I have three Michelles with only one L in their name. Okay.
Dear Linda.
Yeah.
This is Susan. Can you hear
I
me?
can see your name. Hello, Miss Tony.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you
Are
doing,
you helping Sharon today?
honey?
That's an everyday thing, right?
Look at you. Yes, ma'am. Let's see.
Well,
Yes, Miss Susan McElroy. What can I help you with?
Tony's email had said that it's on the 21st, and then we got this about farming, and then we got this one saying it's from Sharon that it's on the 20th.
What are you talking about?
About the farming that Tony's.
I sent a reminder out. The one tomorrow is really geared towards experienced agents, and the one today is for new.
Oh.
The one that attends both is probably going to, benefit from both.
I got you. Okay.
Don't mean to confuse y'all,
No, that's okay. Thank you.
but we've probably done a good job of it.
Morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you, Tony? Hi, Linda.
Great.
When Sharon starts the actual meeting, I'm going to mute everybody, and then when anybody wants to talk, they can just unmute themselves. Because if not, we find that all of a sudden we have phones ringing and people coming in and
Dogs
everything.
barking.
So are you back to the office, Tony, or are you still working remotely?
No, I'm in the office,
I thought so.
as you can see.
Nervous.
Everybody else is in their beautiful home, and I'm here in the office.
Have I been doing this?
Don't be nervous.
How many times have I been doing this?
Just trying to pump you up.
Thanks.
Sharon, you're not muted. We can all hear you.
Okay, Brian just said, "Don't be nervous, Sharon." And I said, "How many years have I been doing this, Brian?" So I don't have this down now. We're all in big trouble. Let me see here. Good morning, everybody that's on already.
Hello, Sharon.
Good
Hey,
morning.
Bob.
Morning, Sharon. It's Gary. How are you?
Are you still at the lake, Bob, or are you? Now,
Yeah.
I might say I'm seeing some people on here like Iona that has a very successful farm. So I'm just chatting until everybody gets on. But this is going to be very basic. It's going to be on how to pick a farm, how many homes to have, what do I need to do. It's going to be about Farm in the Box. So if you are already doing it reasonably successful, then probably you could certainly stay because basics are always good. But you might want to hop on Tony's. And Tony, when is yours going to be?
Well, it's basically geared towards experienced agents that have either tried a farm and not found much success. And so I asked for feedback from all of the experienced agents of what they'd like covered, and there were some great questions. And so we're going to cover those questions first, and then we'll probably have a panel of top producers in some of the following Zoom meetings.
Now, what,
When?
we have gotten lots of invitations and lots of emails, so if you want to remind us what date you're doing it.
That's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I just sent out a reminder.
Tomorrow at 10, okay,
Uh-huh.
okay.
I think I'm going to rejoin that one, guys. Thank you, Tony.
I think some of our agents, I'm just chatting ahead of time, I think some of our agents are going to start doing some in-person open houses, and that's going to be great for geographic farmers because it is a really good way to
Get out there and meet people.
get your name out there. It's about the cheapest way to have people see your name is on a open house sign, driving in and out of their neighborhood
Right.
all weekend. So,
Hey, Sharon,
yes.
I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to mute everybody and mute myself and not have my calendar or camera on so that I can be on the other meeting. If you need anything, just buzz me.
Okay, you're muting me too?
Excuse me?
Are you going to mute me too?
I'm going to be on the other meeting.
Are
No,
you
I'm
going to
I'll
mute?
unmute. No, I'll unmute you, but I'm muting everybody
Okay.
else.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody, I'm going to mute you, and then if you need to talk to Sharon, just go ahead and unmute yourselves. And then that way, we won't hear a lot of the background noise and stuff like that, so.
Oh, Shally just chatted, if you see it, that 3,200 open houses were added to HAR in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
I hope that at least 1,000 of them are Gary Greens.
Sharon, where'd she go?
Also, because I think some of our agents were thinking that they may do a 30 minutes virtual one before the one for the public, because since they're there, and to do both just in case everybody's not out. Is Shally hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, did you look to see how many people were doing virtual open houses?
I did, and those were actually the physical open houses that were added in 24 hours after it was released on Monday.
Okay, and but you don't know how many virtual open houses were scheduled?
I don't, but they're supposed to send me a way for us to check how many of ours are being held open virtually so that we could also click in and see as many of them as we wanted to.
People are gathering, and I'm going to just, well, it's 10 o'clock, but just let me, okay, I'll just go ahead and start. We've got quite a few people. Anyway, welcome. If I haven't met you personally, my name is Sharon Tusink, and I manage the Champions office. And I might, if you're not in our office, I just wanted to let you know that I have been at Gary Green for over 32 years. And I have managed this office. And we also, before that, I owned Champions Global Real Estate for 5 years with Rita. And before that, okay, you're going, okay, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, stop at 80. Before that, I did a geographic farm. And so it has not been hard for me to believe in geographic farms, to encourage our office to do geographic farms, and to think that this is really a way to make money in real estate. I might say, though, also that I have probably seen more money wasted in people trying to geographic farm the wrong way than I can even count on. You know, so we're going to go through. If you're on here and you already have a farm and it's picked, you know it's the right farm, etc. I don't know if this will be the coaching for you or not. We're going to start today with just basically why would I farm, where would I farm, generally overview of what we need to do. And then the next time we're going to go into more detail about exactly which activities to do. And then I was also going to introduce today a program the company has called Farm in a Box, which the company believes so much that farming is something that that is important, that they are going to, they contribute to it, because if you do direct mail, then it gets pretty expensive, and that's why people don't often do it. I'd like to also start with saying, if you do not have your circle of influence in impact, I wouldn't even think about geographic farming. There's a thought that you want to go out and get a whole bunch of strangers to know who you are before you're reaching out to people that already know who you are. And it takes 7 times for somebody to know your name if they don't know it. 7 times, just for them to know who you are and remember your name. 7 like eyeballs. So it takes a lot, and we're going to talk about how to do it and why it takes a lot. And I think your sphere, I'm not talking to you about farming, but your sphere is like this little pot of gold sitting there. They know you, they like you, they trust you, and you want to be sure that that is robust, because that's going to be quicker than doing a farm. And I just saw Connie Santiago jump on here, and you could, Connie, you could, this is going to be very basic, so I won't get my feelings hurt if you hop off. There's people on here that could be teaching this class, and at the end, we'll see if they want to weigh in. Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. What is a geographic farm? Okay, geographic farm is a prospecting method. It's one prospecting method. There are others. There is sphere of influence. Open houses actually can be a prospecting method. For sale by owners, expireds, and again, circle of influence. So if you don't have a farm, it doesn't mean that you're not an agent, that you're not successful, that you're not really, important. However, you kind of take a look around when the awards are passed out, and most of the people that are up there with the awards have a geographic farm. Okay, and the reason they do, I believe, is that it gets their name out there and it focuses their marketing. They're not in Kingwood and then Galveston and then Katy. They're in one area so they can create some sort of impression. In real estate, it's not what you know, it's who knows you, and will they pick you for real estate. So a geographic farm, then also geographic farms aren't, well, I'm going to throw a bunch of mail out there, and then if I get a listing, that's great. What we suggest is that your goal is to get major market share. That's your goal, is to be the one that has more listings than any other agent. And you don't stop until then, okay? I have seen neighborhoods that have as small as 500, 600 homes. I've seen agents get as much as 50% of that neighborhood. You're never going to get it all. People have friends, there's reload, there's blah, blah, blah. So you've got to figure that if you don't have it all. The planned communities are a little tougher because there's so many homes, 3,000, 4,000, 2,000, that it's probably unrealistic to figure that an agent would get half of those homes just because of the fact that there's so many choices, etc. But it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect that most planned communities are in sections, that you might not have a section that has fewer, and that you might try to get major market share in there, which would be 25%. Okay, why, if you're not geographic farming, why would you want a geographic farm? I believe what it does is it helps you focus in an area. Houston's huge, and your sphere may be all over the place. And it's magic because of the fact that what you want is when people get in their car every day, that they got to drive by one of your signs. And you're going to spend a lot of money on direct mail, a lot of activities, a lot of community things, But the cheapest and most effective marketing in Geographic Farm is your name on a sign. Because it's the cost of the sign, and Gary Green pays for it, and their eyeballs are on your name every time. Your goal in a Geographic Farm is if I got on the phone and I called everybody in your neighborhood. Now the bigger ones are a little unrealistic, although I think it's possible that the Santiagos would have this. And I called everybody and I said, who do you think of first when you think about real estate? You want your name to be the name they remember, right? And if they don't, that's not good, because it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And one of the reasons too is that how many people know only one real estate agent? I mean, their cousin's an agent, the guy at church is an agent, there's an agent that works with your husband, your kids' friends are agents, right? So you want them to pick you, and they have a lot of choices, and they're going to pick the person that they think of the most. Therefore, you can't be around too much, and that knows the most about their neighborhood. So I'm going to digress a minute, because in the marketing yourself, when people, I tell Pat Ellis, I don't want to see any Happy Valentine Day ads. People aren't going to list with you in a neighborhood because you're nice. I mean, you got to be nice. They're going to list with you because they think that you're the expert in the marketplace and that you get results. So that's what you want in their mind, not just to think about who you are, but to think that you're the one that sells the most. You know the stats, you know the area, you know the numbers, you know what to do, and you can sell their home. So we're going to try to, marketing is going to be to get that into their mind. Okay, do all top agents have Geographic Farms? As I said, they don't, but most do. And the reason most do is a Geographic Farm is looking for listings. And listing agents have the most business because you got two things working for you. First, you've got a listing and your buyers are going to find you. Because showing agents, a lot of people over the years have said, I don't like listings. I like buyers. Well, you know, that's fine because we need somebody to sell the listings, but you're invisible to the public if you're showing and selling the house. The only way that anybody ever knows who you are if you sell the house is if you send a just sold card. But that listing agent, you did all the work, it's hot, you're driving them all over the city, you sell the listing, and the listing agent puts a sold sign right by their name, and they get all the credit for it. And so again, I want to try to encourage you if it works. How many homes should I have in my Geographic Farm? I believe that the biggest mistake people make is choosing too many homes because it's not feasible to do thousands because it's too expensive and you're too scattered. So let's say your neighborhood has 1,000 homes. This is what people tell me. There's 1,000 homes, but I can't afford to do direct mail, which is usually part of a Geographic Farm. I can't afford to do that for 1,000. So one month I send to this 300, the next month I send to this 300, and the next month I send to the last 300, and I can't figure out why anybody's not calling me. Well, remember, they have to see your name 7 times just to remember who you are, so it might take 2 or 3 years for them to even do that. So you're better off, we suggest about 400 homes, 300 to 400. You're gonna have to get a plan in an area, you know, that is together. Now, if you've got 1,000, and that's because, now, once you can say, well, yeah, but I know that Susie Q, you know, farms the whole neighborhood. Well, you don't start that way. Start with a smaller number. And then once you start getting some traction, you get a couple in there, then you can expand. And if you want, you get there, maybe you're going to, quote, farm the whole neighborhood after you're in there and they know who you are. Once the neighbors drive around and see your sign every time, or your open house signs on the weekend, you can cut back a little bit on some of your print advertising or some of your social advertising because they know who you are. It would cut back a lot. But I'm sure that makes sense to you because in the beginning, if you don't have any signs, then the only way they're going to know who you are is if you send them something, or you're in an ad, or you're at an event or something like that. So don't try too many. Now, what if there's 1,000 homes and you say, well, I don't know which 300 to pick? Well, I'm going to steal from Tony here. Well, first of all, you have the people that you know in there. And it's going to be the people that are the most successful early on a geographic farm are people that their sphere, a lot of their sphere lives in their geographic farm. So if you've got both things going for you, that you know quite a few people in there and you're using it as your specialization to be the expert on, then that is it's like gold. Now, can you do it if you begin with it and don't know a lot of people? Yes, it's probably going to just take you a little bit longer to get going. And then I think that, and Tony, you can say that she suggests that if you got to pick, if I had to pick the 300 out of 1,000, I'd pick the main streets because, that's always good. And then you might want to look to see who's lived there the longest, thinking that maybe people that have been in their home longer, first of all, they may have some equity in their home. And secondly, particularly if you're in one of the older neighborhoods, they may be the ones that are thinking about downsizing or moving. And I don't know if you want to chat, Tony, or say something about if they had 1,000, how they would weed out you'd want to weed out the renters because you want a special program for the non-owner occupants to get, and then a special program, a special message for renters. Tony, you want to speak about that a minute?
Yeah, well, the best thing to do is cull down, start by filtering that. Another thing that I would do, Remind has a program whereby you can deselect people that have lived in the house less than 4 years. Some go to 7 years, but I think 4 years, their likelihood of selling their home is going to be not as high as those that have lived there longer. There's quite a few filters. I cover that tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, and if you are active in the neighborhood, the agents that live there, I certainly would pull names of those agents out. I used to do that all the time. I would never send what I was sending to the farm with the agent.
Here's the thing. You want to be a stealth agent, because if there's somebody in that farm that has it, and they're kind of resting on their laurels, you want to, by the time they look around and see that you're there, you want to have a lot of listings. So you don't want to tip them off, because if you currently have a farm right now, some of you do, and you see you're getting a lot of ads, a lot of emails from somebody, attack. You've got to then, don't take it for granted, you've got to then reach out more with your calls, your open houses, your print ads, because you want to keep them out. And that's the beauty of a farm, is that a lot of your competition, once you own the market, is going to say, I'm not going to farm that because Susie Q has all the listings. The odds of Susie Q taking it for granted and not doing what they did before are pretty good. So we're going to talk about competition too. Okay, so do you have to live in the farm? I'm going to say something that's going to break your heart. I've rarely seen somebody successful that does not live in the area. Now, does it mean not do it? No, it doesn't. Does it mean that you're going to have to you're going to be competing against people that live in a farm, and you're not going to be able to go to the HOA. You're not going to be able to go to the swim team, possibly. So if you have a farm that's connected, like let's say your neighborhood, and I'm going to talk about whether you want to do your neighborhood, you don't want to do your neighborhood, but there's a school that shares common things. You have friends in a common area. There's something a way for you to get to know people, then it's a possibility. But this is what happens. People come into me and they say, I don't want to farm my own neighborhood because there's too many agents in it. I want to farm, 10 miles down the street. And I'm like, guess what? There's a lot of agents in there too. You just don't know it because you don't live there, right? So the competition is a thought, but it's not the only thing that would make you not decide to do a geographic farmer. We're going to talk about that. So if you live there, you get the access, plus what you get on the listing, and you look at the people in the eye and say, I live here too. I love this neighborhood. It's in my best interest to get you the highest price. It's a stronger listing presentation and if you live there, it's possible. As a geographic farmer, you need to know, are they in a Ryland home? Are they in a custom home? Are they in a weekly home? Or when was it built? You need to know everything. And if you've grown up or been in a neighborhood, you just intuitively know a lot about the neighborhood because of the fact that you lived there so long and you've seen the people building things, etc. Okay, one of the things too is, do you like the area? I mean, I guess, I don't know if Connie jumped off, but and Vanessa's here. There's a lot of people I know, and I don't want to exclude anybody, but I'm just seeing them that love their neighborhoods. They can sell it because it's not a sales job. They love it. They know about it. They're in it. They live in it. And that's who people want, that energy. Somebody comes in and lists a listing thing and they live there and they love it. And then another person comes in from across town and like, well, they don't live there. And what do they know about the neighborhood? Oh, do you have a swimming pool in here in this neighborhood? The person that lives there is going to get it every single time. Now we're going to say how, so don't go off if you say I don't want to do my neighborhood. But if you don't want to do your neighborhood, don't not do it because you think that it doesn't sell or that there's too many agents. But now if you don't like it, there's people that say to me, I'm living here, but I don't really want to live here. I'm going to move the first chance I get. Then I wouldn't farm it. And the thing is too, is it's a long-term thing. There's a reason why they call it a farm. It's because you're not going to plant the seeds and then in 2 months, your signs are going to spring up all over the place. It's going to be a long-term thing for you to continue to get more and more and more in the business. Are you active in the area? Are homes selling in the area? So what I want you to do is, if you're wondering about how to pick a farm, choose the area, the area that you're thinking that you might want to specialize in. It could be a section of a bigger neighborhood. It could be a smaller neighborhood. It could be an adjacent neighborhood. They share a lot of common things, right? Maybe even the HOA. Go and run MLS, the closed, for the past year. Okay, you got closed business for the past year. Add up the volume. So let's say there was $10 million worth of homes sold in the neighborhood last year. Multiply it by 3% and find out, is there enough money in this neighborhood for me to invest my time and energy? There are neighborhoods that I was talking to somebody the other day, and I think she's going to do it, but only 12 homes sold last year in the whole neighborhood. So if she got 6 of them, that would be good, except we'd have to figure it was somewhere that she didn't live. So then the question is, it's a business decision on farming. It's a business decision where you want to put your time and your talent. And so you want to look at, I'm sorry, with so you'd have to find the total volume, the average sales price, and assume you're going to get 25%. Now, in a geographic farm, you are also going to get business from people that know who you are, that their brother's moving into town, their sister lives somewhere else. So you'll get other referrals other than just the listings that you're selling out of these people, but you want to make sure. So some of the neighborhoods that you think are fabulous, like I would like to say, put this out here, professionals disagree, but it's very possible that the upper end is going to have a hard time in Houston, Texas for a little while. You know, and the upper end depends on where you are. If you're inside the loop, maybe $1 million isn't that much. But, you know, and days on the market, the most economists and what we've seen happening is our first time market, our market in this area, under 4, is what's selling the quickest and what's turning. So it's not about just getting the listing, you got to get them sold, right? So I'm not saying not do it, and generally in a market, the way to make more money is to up your average sales price. So common sense would tell you then that you ought to go with a higher price. But if that higher price isn't selling, particularly if you're starting a farm, start with another price range, and you can tell. One of the other reasons that you would run MLS is that you want to see who your competition is, not who you think it is, because you know them, but the stats. And now you can, I don't know how, but I know somebody in my office that knows how, but you can run closed by not just the office, but by the agent, the listing agent that closed that house. So when you do closed, you're probably going to get a whole bunch of random RE/MAX agents, right? Or possibly random Keller Williams agents. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for an agent that has major market share, right? The reason you're looking for that is you're going to know how tough the fight is and what you're going to have to do in order to take that market share from that person. And everybody's vulnerable. You're going to have a lot of neighborhoods that some of the old school agents that have been around as long as me have been out there forever, and their name's out there, and no one else has ever gone in or tried to go in a method that would be successful. And I would say that they're vulnerable. So what you're looking for is, my goal is for people, a lot of people, to know who I am. Who else is it that they're picking, and why would they pick me? Why would they pick me? If in your heart you're in a neighborhood and you say deep down, you know what, if I was a seller, I'd probably pick them instead of me. That's not good. That is not good. And let me say, even if your competition is a great agent that knows a lot, you know, that people need choices. You know, everybody isn't everybody's cup of tea. You know, some of the neighborhoods that we do, people that do the best, there's more agents and even Gary Green agents in their neighborhood. And usually if there's other Gary Green agents in your neighborhood, run the stats. They're not going to be your major competition. Normally, let's say you have a Gary Green agent, the company, we've got a neighborhood that's 3,000 homes. Gary Green's got 50% of the market. But 50% of the market is every Tom, Dick, and Harry that ever breathed on a license. So there's plenty to go around there. And we've got 1,300 agents. People sometimes focus on the fact that Gary Green's your competition, agents are your competition. Out of 13 agents, out of 38,000 agents, Gary Green agents are rarely your competition, right? There's a lot of other things out there for people to go get. So once you do that, and that's what I would like for you to do next week, is do the math and look at the area, look at days on the market, and see if there is a section, a thing that you think would, a place that you think would be good to farm. It matters to take time to do this stuff, because when Tony's going to do it, and next week I'm going to start with how would you start with activities, et cetera. What's the first things that you would do? You're going to have to go all in. Either go all in or all out. It's not dabbling. People think a farm is throwing a few, put an ad in. I'm telling you, I can tell you right now names of people that pay money for an ad in the neighborhood newsletter that never get one listing in there, ever. Right? It's dabbling. Now, it could be because their sphere lives in there and they want their sphere. It's a cheap way to get to your sphere. But, you know, you've got, we're going to talk about what all in is. It's you've got to look at it that it is something that you think is worth your time, and then make a strategy. So what you want to know who your competition is, because and that's why I told you to take the agents off your mail outs, because whatever your competition is doing, you have to do more. If your competition is mailing once a month, you've got to mail at least twice a month. If your competition is doing one event a year, you've got to do 2 events a year. If your right? Do you get this? You've got, because if you have competition, then why you? And then you've got to make your name as famous as theirs when you don't have any signs yet, right? And then when you find out who your competition is, your messaging needs to be why you, right? And Gary Green Marketing Department does a really great, Gary Green's got a lot of reasons. If you're newer and you say, well, yeah, why would they use me? I haven't sold a house yet, right? But Gary Green has. And our marketing, nobody can touch our marketing, hands down. And if a RE/MAX agent or one of those random people is your competition, a RE/MAX agent's marketing budget is as big as the amount of money they have in their checkbook that month that they want to spend on marketing homes. And it's not as big as the Gary Green budget. And it doesn't have the reach in order to find the right buyer. So that's why Gary Green is a listing company, because we give the agents the tools that you need in order. They have to like you, know you, trust you. And then if your real estate company has the reach, has the buyers, you're kind of invincible. You know, a great agent in a weak company is going to get listings. A great company with kind of a weak listing agent might get the listing. You're with a great company and you're a great agent, nobody can beat you. Nobody can, because you have it all to offer. Nobody can offer more than you can to get the seller the highest price. So what does your competition do? They discount, because it's the only thing they can do, because they can't have more ads than we do. They can't have more reach. They can't have relocation. They can't have a team working for them. So they just have to be cheaper, and then cheaper, and then cheaper. And so that's not what we do, and that's not what you should have to do. Now, if you're competing against a bunch of discounting people, you've got to pretty much figure that you are, because it's not creative, it's not sustainable, it's just, and you can never be cheaper, ever be cheaper. So that, and our farmers are doing a really, really good job. I want to say this too, because it's important. The cool thing about Gary Green is if you're competing for a listing with another Gary Green agent, you don't have to worry about that Gary Green agent saying, well, if they do it for 6, I'll do it for 5. That's not who we are. We don't compete against each other on our commission. And every other brokerage does. Every other one. You're with another brokerage, you're with Keller, somebody else is with Keller. I guarantee you, if you're trying to get 6%, the guy they know at church that's also with the same brand is going to do it for 4 or 5 or free if you list with me. Or if you list and buy, I'll do it for free and give you money back on the buy. Because what else do they have to offer? And then we know that that seller ends up getting less for their house because nobody is marketing it. Okay, so again, are you willing to go all in? So I'm going to ask you the minimum requirements here are, do you live in the neighborhood or involved in the community? And so basically, and you know, I don't want to steal Tony's thunder. I'm just going to broad brush this because she can tell you how to do it. But community events, that kind of thing are really, really important. Now, one of the cool things about Gary Green is you've got to talk to your manager, but most of our offices support financially some of the things that agents do. Like for us, I've got a tent they can use. We usually will contribute. So like, we have people in here, like in Glenlock Farms, we've got a lot of agents, but there's a lot of houses. And there isn't any community event that Gary Green isn't sponsoring. And we've got a lot of people that live in there. Why? Because the random agent can't afford to do it on their own, because it's like you're sponsoring a swim party or you're sponsoring a national night out. You've got to try to do it. And we've done it. We know how to do it. We've got the plan to do it. We know who to call. And then it's a little bit easier for our agents to do it. So again, you've got to want to do that. Now, if you know, the schools are the same thing, that you're going to have to be active in there. Do you know everything about the house? The builder, the age of the home? You've got to know that like the back of your hand. There's people, and I get it because people are new, that I say, oh, you're going on a listing presentation. Where is it? They don't even remember the subdivision. That you have to hope that if you don't even know the subdivision, that you're not competing against somebody that's going to say, yeah, that house was less, but remember, that was a Ryland home, and you have a weekly home, and they sell better. Or that house do you see what I'm saying? It creates confidence in the seller in that you know what you're talking about. Great listing agents, the appraiser calls you to find out what the house should sell for, because you know more than they do, because you know the area. And you can find out a lot of that on the tax records by just talking to people, etc. Are you planning it for the long term? If you're gonna do it, get a plan, get with your manager. I'm gonna talk a little bit about farm in a box. Is if you'll do the things, the company will contribute toward the money, and then get a plan for how long you want to do it. If you don't have a budget, because print media is the expensive thing, the social media, creating a group page for your neighborhood, creating a lot of things like through the internet, the squeeze pages or the landing pages that you're going to do on Impact, all that's free. Right, but sometimes you want your print ads to refer them to your page. You're always wanting to push them to your internet activity. So normally the thing that people do if you have a newsletter in there is they do put an ad in the newsletter, because it's the cheapest way to get to a whole lot of people. Because it's 50 cents, I guess, a card to send something, but you can get to the masses cheaper in a neighborhood newsletter. But again, there's a bunch of people that are in neighborhood newsletters that never get any business. So it's got to be, okay, I'm going to do it. I would say it's going to be, I chaired a panel for Gary Green for listing agents, top listing agents, and a couple years ago, and it was Dan McCarver, and it was all of our, Thalia Gudaran, a lot of the big people. And all of them said it took them a little longer to get in their farm than they thought it would. And they were just about ready to give up, because it's a long-term thing. You think you've been farming for 3 months, and it's like a long time. but you may have competition with people that have been there for 10 years, right? And so you want to, and then you get the plan and you work the plan. And if you don't have a budget yet, then you can do it, but you're going to have to do it by events and a bunco group, tennis, however you can get out there. It looks like we're going to be able to do some of that stuff soon to get your name known, and then do it all online and forget about the direct mail, or forget about if you don't have a budget. But you might, you can do it, but you've got to plan it and say, how are these people going to know? If I call them and say, who do you think of, do you know who Sharon Tusink is? And all the people in the neighborhood say, no, I've never heard of her. Then, and I've been farming for 6 months. It's not a good deal, right? People have to know. I'm going to get on the side, because one of the things that I've seen that's been the most effective is people in their neighborhoods starting a group neighborhood page and then posting everything that happened in that subdivision on that group page. Like it could be, Terra Nova Real Estate, Susie Q's Terra Nova Real Estate, and then posting every time something happens in the neighborhood. And it is legal for you to pull it from MLS, even if it's not your own listing, to let people know, and then drive the traffic to that site. And people are going to look at it because of the fact that they want to know what's going on in their neighborhood, but they don't want to jump on HAR. If it's on a Facebook page, all they do is go to the page, and you're telling them exactly what's going on, what's sold, what's listing, what was reduced. And so they go all the time because they're nosy, they want to know, or they're thinking about it. And honestly, they do think that they're all your listings, and that's okay, because that's what we want to think. When they go to the Gary Green site and we say do a search, it looks like every listing in Houston's a Gary Green, but you've got to spend the time on it to make sure it has accurate data and that it's updated again. And so if you do social media, now some of the people do all social media, and I think that direct mail does work. I think it works. Even if they take it and throw it in the trash, they're still looking at it, and people are, if you have a compelling postcard or whatever, they're interested about everybody wants to know what's going on in real estate in their neighborhood, and they may look at it before they toss it, but they've looked at it and they've seen your name. And again, if it has information on it about their neighborhood, or if it's something compelling that they want to know about real estate, about, what makes the most money fixing up your house or something, they might keep it. Okay, and then again, know your competition. Try to know what they're doing. Just figure out what they're doing. It is a war. You're trying to take money from somebody else. So we have this really odd industry where we're all one big happy family and everybody sells everybody's listings. But at the end of the day, one of the ways that you get business is to take it from somebody else. Now there's plenty for everybody to get a piece of the pie, but you want to look at it that, you need to have your share of the business, and that means somebody else might not get their share of the business. But again, there's plenty to go around if you're doing the right farm. And then don't ever give up. Like just, say, now the other day, I visited with somebody, and because I do the farming things because I just feel like I know how to do it. And I'm saying, you got to do this, 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 you got to do this. And I'm looking at somebody whose eyeballs are like, what? What? And that's okay, because farming is not the only prospecting method. You can get there. You can get to listings by working with buyers. You just have to wait until those buyers sell and keep in touch with them, right? You can get to listings by doing an active open house campaign. You can get there like that. You can get to listings by doing your sphere without a geographic farm, but a geographic farm is a great way to do it. So anyway, does anybody have any questions or comments? Do you want to, you can unmic yourself because I wanted to finish in about 15 minutes for time's sake, but I would like to know if you have, some of you are, and then before you come next week, I'd like for you to come because we're going to get a little further into what, okay, now I'm going to do it, but what would I do first? Would I mail? What, you know, not like, you know, the whole, you can't, how do you eat an elephant? This is what as Brian's on there, he's going to laugh because I say this all the time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you're here with nothing and no listings, and you're going to try to get to major market share. Well, it's daunting. It's like, wow, how am I ever going to do that? You can if you do it one bite at a time and get a plan and work the plan and work the plan. And if the plan's not working, change the plan. And I've seen people do it. It's magic. They make a lot of money, and you know, I'm going to encourage you to do it if you've decided to go on all in and you're willing to do it for, you know, a long time. Are there any questions in chat, or you can unmute yourself? Tony, do you want to add anything? I know you probably do, because yes.
Oh gosh, I think you've done a tremendous job of you know, covering the basics and you know, what the job entails, because it is hard. You know, I started farming during Houston's worst economic downturn next to this one, except there were so many houses on the market, you know, that people would say, well, I want buyers and not listings. And the way I survived this market was didn't sell the listings because everything was dropping. But I did capture buyers, and they enabled me to survive the market. So I think farming is, you know, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't been an avid farmer. And I think we're going through the same economic time today, not the same, but we're going through a time that's difficult. And with that, what we have to do is always increase the number of listings that we have.
Okay, and then we sent you attachments with the invitation, and one of them was what's called our Company Farm in the Box program. And your manager may or may not know about it, but and we're going to go over it the next time, and it's going to go along with what you do first and second. And I see somebody on here, people on here that already have an effective farm but want to add another subdivision. And adding the other subdivision would be exactly like starting a farm. The only problem is that you don't live in the one that you started. So you might have to just even be a little bit more aggressive on it in different ways if you're going to expand to an area that you don't live in because of the fact that you feel like that you've got yours kind of saturated. So with the Farm in the Box, you should have that. What the company is asking is in exchange for us financially helping you do it, then we want you to commit. We want you to go all in for us to go all in, right? And so we're going to ask you, at least in the beginning, I don't do this with people that have farmed a long time, to show us what activities you've done that week, when you ask for reimbursement for your cards. And then the cards, I'm basically, when you start sending stuff out, tailor to who your competition is. Like, for example, let's say that you've got I don't know, somebody that you know discounts all the time. Then you're going to have to talk about being a high profit seller, what you can do to get them the most money, right? So see, that's why you want to know who it is. And somebody asked me how you run it in metrics, and I'm not a metrics queen. I know our admins are, but probably in your office you'll be able to find out how to run the farm, to find out who the agent's name on it, so that you know who your competition is in what they're doing. Are there any other? Okay, are you gonna do one? Are you not gonna do one? Yes,
I do have a question.
yes.
Can you go back and explain exactly how you wanted us to run the closed in the MLS? I kind of missed part of it.
Okay, so what you want to do is find out if there's enough money in the farm in order for you to make a decent profit. So what you need to do is go back for a year, I'd say year, do all the closed, and then if you figure out what the average sales price is, and then divide it by the number of houses, and then multiply it by 3%. Am I going too fast? You're trying to find out how many commission dollars were earned or could possibly be earned in that farm in a year. And you're going to find neighborhoods that there's not enough. You're going to do the calculation, and it's going to be like $10,000, and you're going to go, okay, why would I do this? Why would I do it? Because I know a lot of people in there or whatever, but you want to be sure that there's enough commission dollars. So run it for a year, do closed. You're going to find out the number, the average sales price. I suppose you could find out the average sales price and just multiply it by 3, but you want to run it anyway because you want to see your competition is. And then multiply by 3 because the listing fee is 3%, and then figure that you're going to 25% of the market, and then find out how much money that is. And then if you want it to be enough money to where if you got 25% of it, that it would be worth your while to start spending money, time, and energy in it. Now, some of you might just want to start with your sphere within the geographic farm until you get to know enough people and get a listing, and then start getting strangers to know who you are. So you might not do a full-blown quote, what we call farm, but let's say that you're in a neighborhood and you don't know anybody, you just moved there. You might want to wait a while to start trying to get a whole bunch of strangers to know who you are by starting to do activities, going to the HOA meeting, starting a bunco group, go to the school, and start creating a sphere so that when you do start, that you're more likely to get a listing or 2 in the beginning. And it's not, it's not a right or wrong. You've got to just create a plan and then look at it and say, is this the plan that is worth me spending my time and money on, and can I make a living at it? And if not, then I'm going to do it a different way. My understanding is that people really need 3 prospecting methods, at least 2, because I see people that do their sphere and nothing else. And if their sphere drops off, then they've got a bad year. Or they do a farm and then they believe me, there's people that they never keep track of who their past clients and customers are. They're not on a list. They don't ever call them. It's sad, but it's true. So they're doing a geographic farm, but they don't have a sphere of past clients and customers and friends. And then you can always do open houses. So most people, you can do for sale by owners, you can do absentee owners, you can do, those type of things, but probably the most user-friendly, the things that people, unless you just love banging the phones, to strangers, which I'm not trying to say don't do it, because we're going to have something on there and you might want to do it, but you want to have more than one thing. Usually in my office, it's usually a farm, sphere, and open houses. If you're not in our office, most of the people in our office that are new, that do the best, do open houses. And I did a panel on top rookies last year from all the offices, that every single one of them did. And our listing agents that are top listing agents still do open houses. So the fact that we weren't able to have open houses recently has just been really hard on the people in our office. And the open houses, get your name, your picture, your telephone number on the open house sign, and then start, doing that. And I don't know if there's going to be any kind of session on open houses or not, but it's pretty intuitive. Anything else?
Hey, Sharon, I'd like
Yes.
to say something.
Oh, you said things have changed.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
actually, it was a link from your son-in-law on LinkedIn today.
Oh,
And it was a topic about, things to talk about with people. And I think it applies to a farm. It applies if you've been in a farm for 10 years, whether you've been in a farm for 1 year, it's things have changed. And it's the whole getting people to talk, or perhaps it's your message and your marketing, because things have changed. And I think people don't like to change. And everyone thinks they know how to be their own realtor. I mean, a lot of times people don't exactly assume that, if you talk to an engineer or a heart doctor, they might feel like, well, I could do that. That doesn't take any brain power. But really and truly, I think we have a lot of expertise and a lot of expertise to share. And with all this training that we've been doing, I think that is giving us an opportunity to come back out and share with people that we do know what's changing and how that affects them. And that brings value, and that's going to bring value, again, supporting the idea of a farm. So coming out and saying, hey, guess what? We have half the listings today that we did a year ago. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't know that unless they're keeping track of the stats. And your son posted that on LinkedIn this morning, and I thought, wow, as a concept, I mean, if you said that to someone, they can't say, well, I've always done it this way, or I've always used this agent, or I've always, done it my own way. They can't say that. They can't. They have to at least perk their ears and be curious.
well, one of the things, thank you so much, Vanessa, for bringing that up, because part of the farm is, what is your messaging? And our company does a really good job of keeping pulse on where people are at. And if you're competing with some of these agents that started when I did, that their ad looks exactly like it did 10 years ago, plus their picture, or 20 years ago or 30 years ago, they're so vulnerable. You don't know, that subdivision is just waiting for you to come and save those poor people to get a good agent that can market their house and get them the top dollar, right? Instead of going in and hammering it. Because most agents, I believe, and other companies, instead of trying to get the most money for the house, they try to hammer them down to the cheapest price so they can get the deal and move on with it. Now, everybody at other companies, there's nice people everywhere and good people everywhere. But still, Gary Green has the most robust marketing message, and people have changed. The millennials have changed. They don't think like the baby boomers did, but we're working with everybody. So so when the marketing department says, why don't we use this message? Think about it, because they're usually doing it because of the fact that they do a lot of research, because that's what they do for a living, on where the consumer is. And we've paid more attention to it recently than we had, because the consumer was so scared to death that we didn't want to come across as crass, cheesy salespeople. And so, which some people still did, by, and then to Vanessa's point, if all you say in your message is, hey, it's a great time to sell, I have buyers, we don't have listings, what does the consumer do? What? How could that be? They think it's a cheesy sales thing. But if you say, because of the situation we're in, we're finding that fewer people are putting their homes on the market, and therefore we're finding that there are more buyers than homes, and therefore our sellers are able to get the prices for their homes that they're thought maybe they wouldn't, because people now are not listing for two main reasons. Either they're afraid of the virus, and then as far as messaging is concerned, do you think that a seller that's just living life with their kids at home and watching TV and thinking that if they go to the drugstore, they're going to die, that they know that how you show a home in this pandemic? Do they know that everybody shows up with a mask on? Do they know that all the doors and lights are on and all the doors are open so that all the buyer doesn't touch anything? Do they know that you can do a virtual open house? I don't think you can expect that they know that unless you tell them. that they can do it safely. And then again, if you want to go to the next thing, you would do a video on that and then post it on Facebook and then post it hopefully to your neighbors in your geographic farm. How everybody wants to know, how are we selling houses now? Safely, are we? I went to the doctor the other day and you know, he knew I was in real estate sale because I'm the manager, and he goes, hey, are you guys selling houses? I said, yes. He goes, what? Stock market's down, pandemic, oil's in the tanker, you know, are you kidding me? And I'm going, no, yes. We're still selling houses, right? So if I didn't tell him, he would know. And he may be thinking of putting his house on the market, but he wasn't going to because he thought there were no buyers out there. The prices crashed as far down as the stock market. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. I hope I see you back next Wednesday. I hope I see you back with a geographic farm picked out. Visit with your manager about it. If you don't know how to run the stats, get with your coordinator or your manager. And then the next week, we're going to talk about, okay, now that I've picked these people, what do I do next? And if you want to jump on Tony's, I don't know, you're going to get a lot of, okay, I picked it, I've done the initial stuff, now what I'm going to do.
Right.
Okay. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
Happy farming.
Yes.